Neck Deep, self-titled album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Neck Deep, pop-punk band based out of Wales. They've been at it since the mid-2010s, and they are a band that I've been meaning to chat about for a while now because, they do sort of play in the same circles as a lot of my modern pop-punk favorites like your Pups and Jeff Rosenstock. I first started hearing about them around their 2014 debut, Wishful Thinking. At the time, I was going through the stuff, man. I was listening to a lot of Set Your Goals and 4 Years Strong. And Neck Deep came around and put out this album, and I thought it was pretty decent. I thought it was a very solid pop-punk album. The energy was there. The hooks were there. They sounded like they were having some fun as well. I just kind of wanted them to push it to the next level. And 2015's Life Is Not Out to Get You was just that, or at least what I wanted at the time. This, to me, can stand up against anything that Pup or like the Wonder Years have done over the last few years. Plus, the wordplay and the songwriting I just thought was really just top-tier stuff, man. But with 2017's The Peace and the Panic, I don't know what really was up with me and this album, but I honestly have always thought that this was a big backstep for the band. I just thought as far as songwriting goes and performances go that they were just, spinning their wheels a little bit. And we didn't hear from them again until 2020, and at the time I was just kind of over it with them. The All Distortions Are Intentional album. However, I did get around to listening to it eventually, and I was actually really impressed with it. Songwriting, I thought this was the band at its peak, and conceptually, this was a huge leap for the band. There were some genuinely thought-provoking, genre-pushing, and just progressive thoughts here, and you don't hear that too often in pop-punk and emo. Sure, there are some bands that are pushing the genre forward, but it's not always the case. Stylistically, they were really pushing themselves too, and I appreciated that. Now, that leads me to this latest album, their self-titled album, their fifth album, and leading up to it, I thought the singles were pretty decent, actually. Let's chat about this thing. Sort Yourself Out early on the album. This track is awesome, and it's very clear very quickly that Neck Deep have the modern pop-punk style down to a science. This is a rumbling, chaotic, and just super catchy pop-punk track that just has me instantly in a state of bliss. I love the hook here and just how genuinely heartbroken this all is. Pop-punk is far from dead. There's still plenty of artists doing great things. You just have to seek it out a little bit harder sometimes, but this here is really sharp. It's incredibly catchy and punchy and just a really great sort of early on introduction to this album. Yeah, definitely sign me up. This Is All My Fault, also really great track. A lot of the same feelings on this track. They play this brand of pop punk with so much sincerity and just so much confidence that it's almost ballsy. This is easily one of my favorite tracks here. I love the contrast between the sort of dreamy, in a weird way, verses and this just uproarious chorus. The harmonies, this hook, it's all gravy, and the production through a lot of this album. The band just sounds great. Definitely a big fan of the determination and just their energy and sincerity to this. Also, I've enjoyed We Need More Bricks since it dropped as a single. You can argue that this track is kind of stuck in the wrong generation, and I think that is bullshit. The songwriting is super heartfelt, and the passion is here in spades. It's full of fist-in-the-air choruses and really memorable guitar lines. I would argue it's the most instantaneous track here. Now, these guys are clearly and very obviously one of the most consistent acts in modern pop punk, and I do have a lot of respect for them. However, there are blips on my radar with this album that I cannot unnotice. Like Dumbstruck Dumbfuck, who starts off this album, and honestly, this is the kind of track that I was worried we'd get more of. The chorus is actually fine, full of pop punk bliss, but everything else about this track just seems really, really safe to me. I just kind of wish that we got a little bit more something new sounding with this intro to the album. They may not mean to, but they do. I think this is easily the worst track here. This is easily one of the roughest around the edges tracks here. This instrumental sounds like it could fall apart at any second. And you know what? There are some genres of music and some styles where that's really, really exciting. It's not this, though. Lyrically, this is one of the most phoned in tracks here. And my God, this chorus is just so unbearably cheesy. Like, come on. And Moody Weirdo as a finale. This one kind of has me middle of the road. I mean, on one hand, the production stands up, and the band themselves, the instrumental, just has that wide sound to it, though. And they sound great from a distance, but just like, come on. Once again, dive into these lyrics. We are dealing with super cheesy material. It's a shame because with the rest of this album, they really do, you know, for lack of a better term and for lack of sounding cheesy, they do keep that pop punk spirit alive. Like Heartbreak of the Century, this riff just hits me instantly, gets me amped up. It's anthemic, it's punchy, it's got a little bite to it as well. This is a feisty track. I mean, it's definitely one of the more bitter tracks here. There are plenty of fuck you lines. Every line and every lyric, though, is pretty poignant. The songwriting of this record continues to impress me, honestly. Not to mention, that hook is gold. Also, Go Outside is really, really entertaining. Yeah, I should take a second to say, this album is a little less flashy than their last record. Yeah, this is a little bit more of a straightforward, meat and potatoes record from the band, but I don't think that's a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I think, that often just is one of the reasons that this album is so decent. But Go Outside, while it did take a little bit of time for me to warm up to it, it's genuinely one of the most progressive and forward-thinking tracks here. Just hearing those, different instrumentals pop in the background, it just gives this so much depth. I still will say this, though. Hook-wise, this is one of the easily really phoned-in ones here. Not a good time, but still, outside of that, the track is great. And Take Me With You. As a whole, I think not only is it just the best track here, by far, I think it's just a all-around fantastic rock single. Now, there is an element to this that is nostalgia-based. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I mean, I absolutely feel that way. And, to an extent, like, how could it not? I mean, it's kind of obvious. However, songwriting-wise and pop culture reference-wise, this is easily a standout here. Also really love that stripped down guitar on the bridge. It's really just an awesome track. If you're gonna take one track here and really analyze it, make it this one. And it won't be like this forever. For a more melancholy track from the band, look no further. It's definitely a little bit more somber, but it really does have a lot of the same qualities as the rest of the album. It's really driven as well. And yes, it's a little bit more woe is me, but still, as a whole, this track packs a punch. In the final 30 seconds, maybe one of the most anthemic and instantaneous and exciting moments here. Yeah, this album's pretty decent, actually. I mean, not like I thought it was going to be bad, but, I'm always kind of shocked with modern pop punk when they pull something like this out. But Neck Deep have this down to a science, and this is another great example of that. And yes, there's some blips on my radar, and like I said, maybe I wanted a little bit something more out of the box, but the simplicity of this album also makes it really work. It's one of the better things I've heard in pop punk in a while. I'm feeling a very decent 7 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.